What is up, guys? You're welcome along to my player ratings. Spoiler alert, this isn't going to be pretty. After Liverpool were beaten by a goal to nil by Nottingham Forest in another shambolic performance, in a new low for me in a season that has been one filled with new lows. This to me is right there at the tippity top. You cannot go in a week and beat Manchester City by a goal to nil, beat West Ham by a goal to nil, and then go and lose at the City ground. But that's been our season. So let me take you through my thoughts on the players. As always, I want to know your reaction in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on the game. And of course, if you agree or disagree with my player ratings. Going to start with this man, of course, Alisson Becker. And look, to me, he's the only one that leaves with any credit today. He made some magnificent saves again. And we could have lost this game by more than one if it wasn't for his heroics. Unlucky that the ball came back off the post and to Awoni for the goal. Look, I can't fault him for that one. But ultimately, we didn't win today. But Ali was the one shining light. So I'm going to give Alisson a 7 for his performance today. I thought he was very good yet again. And probably that one consistently good bright spark we've had this season. James Milner. I'm not going to be overly critical of Milner today. In fact, I think he did okay. There's another big Jimmy Milner moment in there where he got an incredible block in to stop potentially another goal. And he was steady as she goes, always fighting, always leading. Do you know what? I said a moment ago, Alisson was one of the few bright sparks. I'll probably throw Milner in there as well. I don't think Jimmy Milner did too much wrong. I could understand the substitution, obviously, to bring Trent on for a bit more creativity, but ultimately I'm going to give Milner a 7 as well because I don't think he played too bad. This gentleman, though, on the other hand, Joe Gomez has gone from hero to zero in the space of a week. Had a man-of-the-match performance against Manchester City where he didn't give Erling Haaland a sniff, to a bit wobbly again against West Ham, and today back to being the inconsistent, not good enough Joe Gomez that unfortunately we've seen. So Joe needs to be better, and I'm going to give him a 5 for his performance today. He actually ran into Trent at one point. That's how bad and calamitous it was going. Virgil van Dijk. Defensively, I think he did okay. But in the opposition penalty area, he could have had a hat-trick. I feel like if Darwin was on that pitch today, we leave there with the win. But Virgil van Dijk, he just looked lost or devoid of confidence, or I don't know, but those areas where Van Dijk has thrived at Liverpool. And that header at the end, 7 or 8 yards out, unmarked centrally. And yes, you give credit to Dean Henderson for a very good save, but you've got to be scoring that if you're Virgil van Dijk. And then there were balls he played across the box from other set pieces where he could have got a shot away. I just wasn't happy with Virgil today. So he's getting a 6 from me. Andy Robertson. Defensively, steady as she goes a lot of the time, Andy Robertson, but ultimately too negative for me in possession, and I get fed up of seeing him cut inside. There were times, particularly in the first half, where I've seen Carvalho drop into the channel to give him an option, and Robbo, instead of rolling the ball up the line to him and following on to go on an overlap, cuts back inside and passes the ball back to the halfway line to Virgil van Dijk. That's not going to break teams down. That's not going to break a low block down. We're going to have to be more creative, and we're going to have to drop this safety first attitude from our fullbacks if we need them to attack. If we want them to sit back and defend, have at it. But we need more than that from our fullbacks in this system, and Robbo today just wasn't at it either from that regard. So 6 for Andy Robertson. Fabinho. Pathetic. I don't know what's going on with this man. I don't understand how his level has fallen away so much from the standards that he himself set consistently for a very long period of time. But it's more than a blip now. It's been almost the entirety of this season. And for me, there is a conversation to be had around if it's time to look to move Fabinho on, because he just isn't cutting the mustard anymore. Today for Fabinho, 4. I thought it was an awful, awful performance from him. Curtis Jones, I'm amazed he finished the game. I think it must be from the lack of options from the bench, but I thought Lallana loved the Cruyff turn. Christ almighty, this lad loves to turn back into danger and into traffic like nobody I've seen before. Look, there's always been a question mark around Curtis Jones. There's always been no doubt that a man is talented, but I've never ever really seen the consistency since he's broken into the first team that makes me think he will ever be a regular starter. So again, there will be a difficult conversation to be had, if we're being honest, about Curtis Jones at the end of the season. He was shocking today. 5 for me for Curtis Jones. Harvey Elliott. A willing runner, a willing worker, and always looking to make things happen. Sometimes he can try and force it a little bit, or sometimes he can make the wrong decision. But he was a trier, and he worked hard out there today. But ultimately, the quality just wasn't there. So as much as I admire Harvey Elliott, and I do think he'll have better days ahead of him, today I'm going to give him a 6, and I honestly think it's a fair reflection. Carvalho could potentially feel a bit unlucky to come off instead of Curtis Jones, but that's me giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's newer to this Liverpool setup. Look, a lot to love about this kid, but sometimes the more attritional games won't be for him until he's able to work on his upper body strength a little bit. But again, I'm not going to be harsh on him because of every belief in him that he'll come through long term and be a great signing for us. But today, I'm going to give him a 6 because I don't think it was a performance that showed what he's truly capable of. Mo, the most worrying thing I can say about Mohamed Salah today is that he was central and still didn't impact the game. He had a couple of half chances, one semi-decent chance in the first half where he did work onto his left foot, but his strike was tame and straight at Henderson. Yeah, it was worrying today that Mo just wasn't able to get into that game and have any effect in the opposition penalty area. Yeah, he didn't have much space to work in, but if you want to be a goal scorer, if you want to be a predator, you've got to be sniffing around there. And there were a few times balls were played across the 6-yard box where nobody had gambled. So look, wasn't great for Mo today either. 6. Bobby Firmino. To say I was surprised to see him getting taken off was an understatement. I can only assume Klopp's been extra cautious with the Champions League game coming up midweek and maybe a question mark over Darwin's fitness for it. So maybe he just wanted to take Bobby off to wrap him up. I don't know. But ultimately, when you're chasing a game, or even if it's still level, we need to find ways to break through. And he's a man who can pop up with a goal from nowhere, or a deflection, or a little foot in, or a tap in, and I would have liked to have seen him stay on the pitch. It wasn't a great vintage Bobby performance. He's going to get a 6 from me, but to say I'm baffled that he was taken off, as I said, is an understatement. Jordan Henderson didn't do anything when he came on other than play little 1-2s with Fabinho that led us nowhere. There was one time I counted, we had possession for 17 seconds, and we ended up right back where we started the possession from because all we did was move the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, then back to Henderson, and we still were no further forward. Again, too not willing enough for me to run into the space ahead of him or to drive at a defence. Picking up the ball, the easy option always, out wide to Trent. That was it. That was literally his performance summed up. Jordan Henderson, 5, did nothing coming on to impact the game. Trent had a header that was saved by Henderson. I don't think Trent could have done much more with the header, to be fair. He was coming in at the far post, put in some decent crosses. But look, it's difficult to gauge Trent's performance because, you know, he came on as a substitute for Milner and we were chasing the game. So that in mind, I'm going to give him a 7 because I thought his delivery and set pieces was good. I thought maybe Van Dijk should have scored from 1 or 2 of them. But as I said, difficult to gauge because it's the substitute performance. This man, let's be honest, did any of you actually remember he was on the pitch? The only thing I remember Chamberlain doing is overhitting a cross towards Dean Henderson. And I'm not even trying to take the piss. Genuinely, that's the only thing I can remember. Look, I'll be honest, I'm counting down the days till his contract is up. And he's a lovely guy and I wish him the best and all, but his time at Liverpool needs to be over, so 4. And now we move on to the manager, Jurgen Klopp. And look, there are extenuating circumstances around who was available to Klopp today. But even at that, don't agree with taking Bobby Firmino off. I don't agree with leaving Curtis Jones on till the end. And he's part of the reason we didn't get a midfielder, because his insistence on not needing one. He went back on that too late in the window, and that's really the only thing I'm going to be critical of Klopp of today. The substitutions, I don't know about his tactics, because ultimately it was a disjointed 11 that was kind of forced together. Thiago, I think, was a late one, ruled out with an ear infection, which meant Jones played. Maybe Thiago in there, that game's different, I don't know, but I can't sit here and keep denying that he was part of the reason we didn't sign a midfielder when it's abundantly clear we needed one. So Jurgen Klopp today, 5. And that concludes my player ratings. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. To Steve Cooper and the players, as I said earlier on, congratulations on the win. To those Forest fans, to say I'm embarrassed for you for the state of what you did today is an understatement. To say I've lost respect, not that I'm sure you'll care about it, again, is an understatement. I honestly, from any other set of fans, this shit hurts, but from Forest fans who were there that day, I don't think any of us will forgive that. But look, ultimately Liverpool lost today, and it's not good enough. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.